That's significant change. Fair enough. All right, Johnny Mac, good conversation here in hour number one. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here today. We have an exciting week ahead. Okay, Monday at noon Eastern time, we'll kick off the legal negotiating period, widely referred to, much to John's chagrin, as the legal tampering period. Excuse me. That kicks off on Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesday is the official start of the new league year, which means the deals will fly in fast and furious at that time, and you'll start to really hear about them after noon on Monday when that negotiating period opens. And for anybody who's been paying attention, quite a bit of moves have already come down for teams getting new players signed, even some trades. There's been quite a bit of things happening already in the NFL to prepare for that 2026-2027 NFL season that is coming up next. Johnny Mac, let's get to some super chats here today. Here's Bravo Zulu 6. I like that name, Bravo Zulu 6. That's a military name if I've ever heard one. I used to like a brand, Bravo, called, what the hell is it called? Zero Foxtrot. This name reminds me of that. He says, Eagles will have serious issues with Max going to Dallas. He can play the pass and the run, and he's relentless. That guy plays possessed.
He's definitely relentless. I mean, that's common with all great pass rushers. They have the high motor. All of them. That's one thing they have in common. You don't want them in Dallas, definitely. So that could create an arms race. Like I said earlier in the show, you don't want Micah Parsons in Dallas either, but they had him for a bunch of years and the Eagles did fine. They'll figure it out. You got to spend a lot of time thinking about it, as Nick would often say with Micah, but they had a better pass rusher and they let him go. So they'll be fine.
Yeah, but they didn't have the tackles when they had Micah. I think technically the Dallas line would be better. I'm not saying Max is better than Micah, but is Max with Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark and Osa better than what Micah had with him on that D line?
Stages probably when they left. Yeah, when he left. Yeah, but I mean, earlier in his career, they were really talented up front. So, it depends on stages. Remember Mike was drafted to be an all-ball linebacker. And only because of injuries to DeMarcus Lawrence. Remember, they had DeMarcus Lawrence. So no, I maybe when he left, yeah, they were struggling to find some defensive tackles. So, but they were one of the most talented teams in football there for a while.
Yeah. Well, keep an eye on Dallas. I mean, I think that team actually has a chance to be all right next year. I know Eagles fans are not going to like hearing me say that, but that's just the reality. I mean, they had the number one defense or offense in football last year. They've retained all of that talent, and the defense, while they did not have a good year, if they deploy their draft capitals, let's say to go get Max Crosby, let's say to draft a good safety or something like that, or a good cornerback. I mean, that could be a decent team next year. I mean, that could be a team that would be fighting with the Eagles for the NFC East.
Yeah, I mean, they've a lot of ability on offense. They got to get their offensive line right. It's not, at their height, they had a great offensive line as well.
It's gotten better though. Last year wasn't bad.
Yeah, it's gotten better. Wasn't not, but when Zach Martin was there.
Yeah, well, obviously. They got like the three Tylers up there, don't they? They got a bunch of Tylers.
Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith is big time.
Yeah,
he's one of the strongest players in the league. But yeah, they'll be better, and they'll be better defensively because Matt Eberflus. By the way, that guy. Come on, San Francisco name. Speaking of titles, we got a new title. We should do that as a segment of the show. New titles. Assistant head coach of the defense.
I saw that, man. What the hell does that even mean?
That means similar to we'll get a new title when Gerard Johnson, when they give him a title. You're just creating a position for the guy. And look, that Dallas defense was brutal last season. So, I think the world is caught up to Matt Eberflus's style of defense, and Christian Parker being there is probably going to help their defense just shifting it around.
Yeah, especially the secondary.
So, we'll see a lot of hype about Nakobe Dean going there. Who knows? Maybe you get back-to-back and get Reed as well. So, Cowboys are one to keep an eye on. And they certainly wouldn't mind hurting the Eagles by signing some of their players.
No, I already got Pumper crying about me in the chat. John, they hate when I'm honest about the cow. Look, Xander's daily glaze of the cow. Like I daily glaze the Cowgirls. But Pumper, they are a solid squad. I mean, they had good offense last year. And if they use all their assets to go and get defenders, I don't know what you're looking at. That's a good defensive line. And they got Christian Parker added. I mean, if they signed Nakobe Dean, let's just say they signed Nakobe Dean, they trade for Max Crosby, and they draft a safety or draft that Dylan Thieneman kid or whoever they might draft in the secondary. Well, I got news. That's probably going to be a pretty good defense, pretty good team.
I would have kept Micah.
I know you would have. I would have too. Understood. All right, let's go to our next super chat again from Bravo. Bravo, thank you, man. Appreciate your support today. He says this, John, you're completely wrong. Parsons can't play the run for shit. He's a liability on the run game. Max Crosby's a beast. Pat Mahomes will be celebrating. It's like the British are coming. He's repeating himself here.
Okay, yeah, Micah stinks. Yeah, he's terrible. Yeah, you're right, Bravo Zulo 6. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Talk to people in the NFL.
Well, this is my question for Bravo. Do you not think Micah Parsons is a good player? Because the entire NFL world was ready to send an arm and a leg to get him on their team and then also pay him $46 million on top of that. So I don't know, Bravo. I mean, that sounds pretty good to me. That sounds like a pretty good player to me.
No, he can't. Yeah, I heard the same thing about Aaron Donald because he was so good as a pass rusher. Oh, and then they one clip scouting, which I love, and they take the one clip where they're out of a gap or something. Now they are human beings, but yeah, Micah's pretty good.
Yeah, agreed. Bravo, thanks for the super, brother. I appreciate it, man.
I wish people could hear Nick Sirianni, and they don't like Nick Sirianni, but I wish they could hear.
I like Nick Sirianni.
Howie Roseman.
Call me the Sirianni glazer.
Oh, they like Howie now. They didn't. Yeah. I wish they could hear Howie Roseman talk about Micah Parsons. Nick Sirianni talk about Micah Parsons.
All right, here's
tune might change.
It's true. Here's Mr. Hill. What's up, Mr. Hill? I think Howie should hold his cards unless he gets a 1 and a 2 for AJ. Tell AJ be a pro and play ball. We will talk in 27. Only it was that easy, Mr. Hill.
No, I would not pick up the phone. How about that? Because I'm still taking the business hit. I don't want the 31st pick for AJ Brown. I don't give a shit about the 31st pick.
I'm with you.
Well, I'm not picking up the phone.
That's why I also got to take. I threw him in the Crosby trade because
I also got to take $40 million in dead money, and I got to go into Jeffrey Lurie's office and hey, we're gonna take this hit, and we're gonna oh by the way, we're gonna lose $20 million on the cap. Yeah, I'm not trading him.
$40 million that you shelled out is now going to be used for the team in LA or for the team in Vegas. Yeah, that's not a good meeting you want to have with your boss. Here's Pumper. What's up, Pump? There he is. Let me guess. He's crying again about the Cowboy comment. Here's Brian Pump. He says, I can't take that team seriously. Jared Jones was caught on video admitting to scouting prospects based on their trouser size. Embarrassing. I do remember that. That was a weird. Was that like leaked or something? I forget what happened there. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention.
Well, look, that's what I joked about. People like, well, Christian Parker is going to tell Jerry Jones to do whatever. No, he's not. No, he's freaking not.
No, but Christian Parker's going to get the most out of the players they do have.
Yeah, maybe. But for all the people that say, well, they're going to sign this guy, Christian Parker's going to bring this guy over. Christian Parker, no, he's not. He doesn't even listen to Will McClay. He's not going to listen to Christian Parker.
Right.
Jerry Jones is so out of touch, he might not know Christian Parker's name. That's the best thing you have going for as an Eagles fan. Like Jerry gets involved, and Steven's got to talk him out of basically all the bad decisions. Yeah, he's great for our buddy John Machota down there and all the Cowboys beat. He's phenomenal. He talks after every game, says stupid shit like that.
Easiest team to cover, man.
Yeah. But, for making football decisions, yeah, not great.
No doubt about it. All right, Pump. Thank you, brother. Appreciate the super chat. Not really something I wanted to read this morning on the show, but I did read it. All right. Thank you for being here. All right, Johnny Mac. Now, free agency, the legal negotiating period kicks off Monday. Look at me. You've ingrained into my brain. It's called the legal negotiating period. John, you've won. You've won me. You've won me over here. It's no longer.
It's not. I mean, everybody can go onto the NFL operations. They have a website. Everybody can go to it, and they have what's called a key date section, and you can read what it is. Look, because everybody's wrong doesn't mean you have to play into it.
That's true. That's true.
The description, is you're allowed to negotiate from March 9th to March 11th. I'll read it to you. During the period beginning at noon on March 9th and ending at 3:59:59 on March 11th, clubs are permitted to contact and enter into contract negotiations with the certified agents of players who will become unrestricted free agents upon the expiration of their 2025 player contracts at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on March 12th. Permitted. Tampering is not permitted. It is the legal negotiation period. No matter how many idiots say something else.
God, I was just telling you, you won me over. Come on, man.
No, well, I'm not picking on. I'm picking on all the other people. Like my former host, who I love to death. I love Jody. People know that. But he'd be like, well, who started? I don't know who started. Who cares?
You and Jody used to have some good debates. Good stuff. All right. We get a little closer to that. That kicks off on Monday, as John just said. I like how they put the actual second that it ends, 3:59 and 59 seconds on March 11th Eastern Time there. So we will see what ends up happening, John. A lot going on in Eagle land. I'm going to gauge your overall thought right now on what's at stake for the Eagles right now. They've been a very good team, John, the last 4 or 5 years. They've been a bona fide Super Bowl contender in each of those years. I like what you say. You normally say there's normally 4 or 5, at most 6 teams a year that are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. That's different than being a good team or a great team. There's a different look there. The Eagles have been a part of that, John, for the last 4 years. How close are they to that? Or how close are, I guess more importantly, how close are they to falling off of that if they don't make the right moves here? Because I think we all, we joking back and forth about A.J. Brown, a lot of conversation there. Okay, bring A.J. Brown back. What's at stake for the Eagles in this offseason? I mean, could the window slam shut if they don't make the right moves? If Jaelan Phillips walks out the door, if A.J. Brown gets traded for the 31st overall pick and you don't get a player back, could that door slam shut? Where is this Eagles team right now in your mind?
Yeah, there's more uncertainty. I think, the floor is lower than it typically has been over the past 3-4 years. But, the ceiling's still there as well. So they have the framework to be a contender, legitimate contender. And they just got to make right decisions. And if you trade A.J. Brown, well, you better have a contingency plan, I think the trade market is something that they'll explore more than usual because of some of the cap restraints. So maybe you bring in players from other cities. You know, if you lose Jaelan Phillips, you better have something in the hopper, whether it's trading for Max Crosby or signing somebody else. You better have something in the hopper because you don't want to go into it as you did last season, which, you know, I said it was very hard to believe they went into last season with the edge rushing room the way it looked, and they didn't want to go into it that way, but they were forced to go into it that way, as proven by what they did to try to get out of it. Chasing after Micah Parsons, chasing and getting Jaelan Phillips. Now they have to make, they may have to make smart decisions there. You need a bunch of bounce back years from guys who had down years. Lane Johnson for injury purposes. I'm not even going to bring up Jordan Mailata because he was so good in 2024, but I think he was damn good in 2025. But all the rest of the offensive linemen, Saquon Barkley, that's what I think, Sean Mannion, the best thing he's got going for him is that these guys are going to be very focused on bouncing back from poor seasons by their own standards. Regardless of scheme or what they do new, I think they're just going to play better. A lot of those guys, because they're going to be focused. They know they had down seasons. So I think that's going to help Sean Mannion. But then you bring up the coaching as a whole, and it's like, well, that could go in a negative direction. Could go in a positive direction, but it could go in a very negative direction. There's not a lot of examples of guys with that little experience taking over any offense, never mind an offense in a city like Philadelphia. Can you imagine if they struggle over the first month of the season? Can you imagine what the narratives are going to be?
That's what I mean. What if they struggle? What if AJ Brown's pissed off? And what if they end up having to trade AJ Brown at the deadline for a 3?
Well, at least it's better from a cap standpoint. That's what I'll say. But I don't think you'll get to the point where it's not like
would it be better from a cap standpoint?
Well, yeah. I mean, it'd be better after June 1st if you can wait till June 1st.
Yeah, but can't they make a move and designate it to June 1st right now?
No, well, everything accelerates. So you can't the difference between contracts and trades, the contracts can be, if you're just cutting a player, then you could spread it over 2 seasons and you only have 2 post June 1st moves. A trade, it accelerates. Whenever you make the trade, everything accelerates. So it doesn't help you to split it over 2 seasons. So everything gets lopped on. So, but the problem is if you wait past June 1st, the problem is everybody's already budgeted. Everybody's already used their assets to build their rosters. So you don't have as much leverage. That's what the Eagles are dealing with. So you're going to get more value right now up to the draft. You can take it up to the draft. You're going to get more value right now than you are post June 1st. Otherwise, they just wait for post June 1st and they actually gain. Let me look it up. They would gain $7 million in cap space. But everybody's already, Buffalo, look at Buffalo. They already traded for DJ Moore. If New England doesn't get AJ Brown now, they're going to have to go get somebody else or trade for somebody else, or they're going to have to draft a receiver. They're going to already allocate to what they're going to do. It makes it much more difficult. And then you start the cycle again next offseason, where if he's unhappy this offseason, then I think no doubt about it, he's gone, because it's easier to do. You still take on, 2026. You still take on a significant dead money hit, $27 million. but you only lose $4 million in cap space if you wait till next offseason. This offseason, those numbers are $43.449 million dead money, lose 20, just over 20.055 of cap space. That's the fucking problem. That's the problem. And that's why none of it makes sense. Even taking calls. Unless somebody sped up. And it could be AJ or it could be the Eagles. But the idea that Howie Roseman's just taking calls to take calls.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, I feel like sometimes we act like AJ wasn't unhappy.
He was fucking unhappy. I mean, everybody knows that.
That's what I mean. I mean, that's why I asked you, though. I mean, I agree the Eagles are going to lose the freaking trade, which is what I've been saying for a while. I don't think they're going to do it because I don't think Howie Roseman, I mean, period. I think it might be his ego. He doesn't want to lose a damn trade. He doesn't like losing trades, and I can't blame him for that.
Yeah.
Is it more damage to keep the player if he's going to be as miserable as he's been?
Well, yeah, that's the only reason. That's the only reason you get rid of it. That's addition by subtraction. In other words, he's so miserable, he's going to affect the team, and you think that's the only reason you trade him. I've been saying that for months. That's the only reason at this stage you trade him. Again, next year it's more palatable. Next year, all the other conversations that everybody has now is more relevant. Now I think it's about, look, if he's happy, if the Eagles are not unhappy, you're not taking calls. You're just not. But God bless Howie. He everybody's bought into that bullshit. You know, you don't trade players that good when you're taking $43 million of dead money and 20 million of cap space when you don't have a lot of cap space. You don't trade players like that until it becomes more palatable, unless they are so unhappy or you're so unhappy that there's no other avenue, like Carson Wentz. That's the only recent example. You know, the Eagles wanted to move forward for one more season, give it one more try. And Carson just said, no, he's not doing it. And at that point, they had to cut bait. And it worked out. Maybe this will work out. But it's not, you know, there's nothing past that. They're not just sitting and wow me. And by the way, wow me for Jalen Carter and wow me for any other great player, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. Like Howie's taking, hey, wow me over Jordan Mailata. Maybe I'll give him up for 2 first-round picks. He's not having those calls. Nobody's calling because everybody knows he's not trading them. People are calling because they think they're trading them. Doesn't mean they're right, but that's what they think.
We'll see what ends up happening. John, who are the Eagles going to add? Forget who's leaving. Who are the Eagles going to add next week?
Maybe nobody. Well, certainly, I don't think other than, you know, their own, which people don't consider adding. I don't think they'll sign anybody during the tampering period. There, I broke my own rule for everybody. During the legal negotiation.
Oh man, John.
Yeah, well, everybody says it. So sometimes you slip. But yeah, I don't think they'll sign any outside players. And they'll, you know, the second wave, they'll start signing people. But yeah, they don't. It's a retention. Howie's on record. You know, thankfully he did it this year. He went on record.
So what happens when some dumb team pays Jaelan Phillips $28 million and he leaves? And then that retention offseason, and Reed Blankenship gets $11 million and he's gone, and Nakobe Dean ends up in Dow. What now? What now? What's happening with the retention offseason? That's another crock of shit from Howie, it sounds like.
Well, I don't think it's a crock of shit because
it's a crock of shit if they don't get him done.
Well, from every indication, they want to re-sign Jaelan Phillips. Now, then this Max Crosby shit came up, which would excite people more, obviously. Every indication says they want to re-sign Jaelan Phillips. Reed's 50-50 as well, depending on the contract. Kobe's probably gone. Dallas is more interesting than I thought, but I'm still leaning towards him being gone. And then, if things go off kilter, you have to respond. But those are, probably be a day into the new league year. They'll be working on, again, top priority Jaelan Phillips and then down from there. But they don't have a ton of cap space. So, if they make a splash, like if they, trade for Max Crosby, it's not even signing. Then you have to do something else to fit them in. So you're almost going to have to send a good player or a relatively good player just to create the kind of space that it would take to keep Max Crosby. And I'm sure they'll redo the contract and probably pay him more than he makes now. So, everything, and Howie was honest about that, everything they do splash-wise means they have to do something else to create space to do something splash-wise. Not that they won't do something. He loves making splashes.
With a limited free agency, how easy is that to do? All right, okay. Everybody's gone. Now we got to...
And by the way, this free agency class stinks to begin with. And that's not coming from Howie. That's coming from just about everybody around the league. It's not a good class. And you see the smart teams like Cam Curl. Well, he's a pretty good safety. Well, they get him done before free agency. He's not great, but he's pretty good. Guys are keeping their own guys. So you're going to start talking about, middle range players. Daniel Jones at quarterback, $37.83 million under the transition tag. Everybody there, I saw somebody put out their top 100 free agents, and Jaelan Phillips is up to 2. Number 2 was either The Athletic or ESPN. Number 2. Now, I like Jaelan Phillips, and evidently I like him more than most Eagles fans, but typically you have better players than that. Not this year. Not this year. Now, there's some bigger names like Hendrickson, which I think he was 1, but he's 32 years old. Khalil Mack is going to the Hall of Fame, but he's 35 years old. Hassan Reddick, our old buddy, I don't think he's coming back, but he's 32 years old. Joey Bosa's 31.
He a free agent, Joey Bosa?
Yeah. But he'll never come to. No. Not that they'd want him. So,
I think he's a little overrated, Joey Bosa.
Well, Nick's definitely the better of the Bosas, but he was
that's not close.
He was very good in his prime.
Yeah, Joey was, but Nick has been a machine.
Yeah, Nick's the better Bosa, no doubt.
Where do you put healthy Nick Bosa in the? We had the edge rusher convo earlier. 1, 2, 3.
I don't even think he'd be a consideration. I literally think he hates Philadelphia.
No, I'm not talking about coming to Philly, John. I'm talking about just where you put Nick Bosa as a talent.
Oh,
we did like the great,
if you're a contender that needs a natural pass rusher, 1 year, he's a 1 year guy at this point.
Not Joey, John. I'm asking Nick.
Oh, Nick.
Where do you? I'm not asking about a new team. I'm asking you have Miles,
Yeah, he's
Then
in the
Micah.
second. He's in the Crosby category.
All right, that's kind of where I have him too. I didn't know where
I was in the Joey mode.
Yeah,
He was he's yeah, he's very good. He's a very good player. Nick Bosa. Now, I think he only played a month last season, something like that.
Yeah, he got hurt bad. What did he tear his ACL?
I don't know. But yeah, he missed most of the season. Yeah, he played 3 games. Yeah, tore his ACL.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So he missed 3 games. So you got that coming back as well. But his height was 2022 when he had 18.5 sacks. He had 15.5 sacks a year prior to that, and he's kind of been on the descent since, injury wise. That life moves fast, man. But at his prime, in his prime, he was big time.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. I am now thinking I do not like this method that the Eagles have put out to publicly reveal that it is a retention offseason. Because now what? What happens if what happens if the Cowboys want to just spite the Eagles? What happens if other teams just sign all their guys? What happens if all the dumb teams in the leagues make it impossible for the Eagles to live out that retention offseason? What if Jaelan Phillips gets 28 and Reed's gone and Nakobe's gone? Well, what's your contingency? There's not that good of a contingency. The free agency's not good. You've been saying it for a month.
Well, yeah, but you can find player like, safety. Let's talk about safety. So,
yeah, that's less Let's talk about edge if Jaelan Phillips doesn't sign.
Well, if you get Max Crosby, I think everybody's happy.
Well, there you
judging
go.
by well, if that's your one thing I will tell you, Howie has contingencies. I mean, that's what he does best.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have to worry about that. So I mean, but I would say, putting out there public, look, Howie probably learns from his flagship radio station. You can say something one day and say something completely different the next day, and everybody fucking forgets it. So who cares? He's just trying to prepare people who want, and it's partly his own doing, that's the Eagles' reputation. So they're always expecting splash, splash, splash. And they're not going to see that right away. So, he's preparing them for that. Whether it works or not is something different. Right. But that's all he's doing. He wants to try to control the, message as much as he possibly can. But he's telling the truth. It's, he's not in a position to make what people consider big splashes.
Yeah, it just feels to me like that can all go to shit quick. I mean, not even by their own doing. I mean, if your goal is retention and other dumb teams, I mean, you would think if it was a retention offseason that some of these guys who are about to hit free agency would have already been signed. I mean, there are teams signing their guys right now. The Eagles did it with Zach Bond last year. They haven't been able to get any of them done. That it's a two-way street. It might not be only the Eagles doing, but that would it's harder to have a retention offseason than they implied.
I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, if you're Cam Curl, you probably just gave up some money. Maybe he likes Los Angeles. Maybe he likes it there. A lot of people like Southern California. Probably doesn't like the taxes, but there's a million different reasons why. But generally, the guys who sign before the market hits are either very happy in the situation they're in and willing to give a little bit of a hometown discount, or are mid-range players. Higbee signed. The Rams signed a couple players. Higbee re-signed. But at this stage in his age and injury history was, I don't know, $5 million a year. So he's not going to break the bank. Even though I think he's a pretty good player. I've always liked Tyler Higbee, but yeah, I mean, they're in a position where Jaelan Phillips can get life-changing money Reed Blankenship, I think people don't realize an undrafted guy's made like, I don't know, $4 million in his entire career, which, hey, I'll take, but for an NFL player, that's not. He might get $10 million a year. He's having a kid, yada yada yada.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it goes. Taxes. I mean, he's walking with 1.6, and in the world we live in today, that's not as much as it once was. J-Mac.
No. So Nakobe's they drafted Jihad Campbell. That's just the reality of that situation. Dallas at his age, he's probably, he's going to be a 1-year guy, or this is his last chance to get multiple years with guaranteed money. And he probably wants to see if he can get multiple years. He's been in the league for 9 years now, and he's never been to free agency. Now he gets to test the market. So for people asking why they can't sign him before, that's why. Those are your 4 major guys.
All right. I'm trying to find my damn pen. I don't know.